Chapter 90. Oh, so Daddy is what you two partners call each other. Hee hee, then I will also call Bode Daddy Bode in the future. Sandy thought that Daddy was like honey and was just a dialect. But before she could finish her sentence, she felt a chill down her spine. She looked towards the source of the chill and saw Leah smiling at her with a burning wooden stick in one hand. That smile was so cold that it sent shivers down one's spine. Crack! The wooden stick in Lee's hand was crushed into pieces and some sparks splashed onto Lee's body. However, he did not care and just maintained that cold smile. In a clear voice, he said, "This title belongs to me." Oh, oh, oh. Sandy shrank her neck and nodded pitifully. Leo was so scary when he had a partner. He even threatened females. He was not like this in the past. Sobs, sobs, sobs. She wanted to cry but did not dare to. She felt so wronged. Seeing that the atmosphere was a little awkward, Gu Meng Meng laughed dryly. She held Sandy's little hand in her arms and said, "Daddy does not mean partner. It is a kind of blood relationship, a kind of familial love. It is a kind of connection that cannot be severed no matter what. It is very simple but also very complicated. I will explain it to you when I have the chance in the future. Now let's talk about roasted meat." "All right." "Yeah." Sandy nodded her head as if she understood but did not probe further. She only hoped that the chapter on Daddy would be over as soon as possible. Lee's face darkened even more and he looked especially angry. Because, Gu Meng Meng just said that Daddy did not mean partner? You do not intend to mate with Leah? Sandy grasped the main point with a face full of shock. She completely ignored the fact that Lee's veins were popping out from her roar. Gu Meng Meng shook her head honestly and said, "At my place, we do not mate as soon as we reach adulthood. We will start off as friends and after we understand each other to a certain extent, we will become lovers when we feel that it is right. After a few years of dating, we will get used to each other and when everything is right, we will then seek the approval of both families and become partners under the blessings of all our friends and family." Sandy was confused. Friends, wasn't it like the relationship between her and Gu Meng Meng? Will we become lovers in the future? Sandy asked in confusion. Pfft. Gu Meng Meng burst out in laughter. "My sexual orientation is normal. I only like pretty boys. You don't like me anymore." Sandy's eyes were misty, and it looked like she was about to burst into tears. It wasn't easy for her to make a friend. If Gu Meng Meng didn't like her, then would she become all alone again? Although her partners treated her very well and loved her very much, she always felt that there were some things that she couldn't tell them. But Gu Meng Meng was different. Although they had only known each other for a short 2 days, Gu Meng Meng gave her a very warm and special feeling. She really liked Gu Meng Meng. Haha, Gu Meng Meng laughed heartily and hugged Sandy tightly. She rubbed her furry little ears and said, "The like I mentioned is referring to the choice of partners. As a good friend and bestie, I like it a lot, really." Sandy asked doubtfully. Her big innocent and clear eyes fluttered, making Gu Meng Meng's heart soften. "Of course it's true. You are kind and pure, gentle and cute, kind and not pretentious, friendly and caring. What reason do I have not to like you?" Gu Meng Meng held Sandy's chubby little face in her hands and kissed her. Sandy blushed and giggled. "I like you the most too." Sandy blushed and giggled. "I like you the most too." Aside from the topic, the competition is tomorrow and I don't know what the outcome will be either. I'm so nervous, so nervous. Babies, let's give it a try. Bookmark and leave a message if you have any flowers, give them to me. Chapter 91. In your world, all males and females start off as friends, then become lovers, before finally becoming partners? Sandy blinked her big innocent eyes and tilted her head to ask. Gu Mengmeng played with Li's big tail while nodding her head and answering, not necessarily, we have a phrase called love at first sight. It's two people who can recognize each other in the bustling crowd, as if they are the other half of you that you have been searching for years. Then, the heavenly thunder and the earthly fire went out of control, and they got married just like that. Oh, marriage means mating. Sandy nodded her head as if she understood, then continued asking, then why didn't you fall in love with Leah at first sight? Cough, cough. Gu Mengmeng almost choked to death on her own saliva. Sneaking a peek at Leah, he was indeed smiling, but that smile looked dangerous no matter how she looked at it, as if he would rush up and strangle Sandy any time. Gu Mengmeng roared in her heart, I say, Sandy, you have to be more careful. Why did you have to rub it in? But even though she was cursing in her heart, Gu Mengmeng still had to come out to smooth things over. So she shrugged her shoulders and avoided Li's gaze guiltily. It was clearly written in his eyes, please start your performance, I am waiting to hear your explanation. Gu Mengmeng opened her mouth to say something, but almost bit her own tongue. But Sandy did not let it go, and added another stab, don't you like pretty older brothers? Leah is so pretty. Gu Mengmeng face-bombed, she decided to give Sandy the Best Bad Friend award. But Leah smiled, and whispered into Gu Mengmeng's ear like a spring breeze, in the entire beast world, I am afraid there is no one more good-looking than me, so, you like me, how about that? Ha, ha ha. Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, was Daddy Leah selling himself? Wasn't he afraid that she would really pounce on him after being obsessed with him? Oh, he definitely did not know that there was a phrase in the modern world called fast food love, the kind that leaves after eating without taking responsibility. Just as Gu Mengmeng was fretting over how to reply, she saw a black wolf with something in its mouth dashing towards her from afar. Strangely enough, Gu Mengmeng did not feel afraid at all when such a ferocious beast pounced on her. Instead, she felt a sense of familiarity and intimacy. She jumped down from Li's tail, waved at the black wolf and shouted, Leader, Elvis's heart warmed. This was the first time he understood the meaning of family. In that dark, cold cave, there is a little girl waiting for you to come back. That was why he unconsciously sped up when he was hunting just now, as if something was pulling him back quickly. So, this was what it meant to be anxious to return home. It was only because she was waiting for him, and he couldn't wait to see her wave at him. As Elvis decelerated, he transformed into human form to prevent himself from crashing into her. Elvis grasped the perfect distance. After he completed his transformation and deceleration, he stood steadily in front of Gu Mengmeng, with a distance of half a step between them. Holding a bunch of rabbits in his hand, Elvis could not wait to wrap his other hand around Gu Mengmeng's shoulder and bring her into his arms. Gu Mengmeng, who was clearly a small ball, so soft that it seemed as if she would break with just a little force, had such an indescribable and wonderful power that made him yearn and go crazy. And Gu Mengmeng, who was in his arms, felt even crazier. Leader, where's your beast-skin dress? Aside from the topic, Gu Mengmeng, Sandy, it's the group interview time now. May I know how do you feel about receiving the honor of being the best worst friend? Sandy, firstly, I want to thank my papa and mama. Without them, I would not have been born. Secondly, I want to thank CCTV, Beast World TV and all the other TV channels. Thank you for everyone's recognition and love for me. Of course, the person I want to thank the most is my best friend, Gu Mengmeng. If it wasn't for your help, I would never have received this award. Half of this honor is mine, and the other half is yours. Chapter 92. Bo. Leader, your clothes. Gu Mengmeng said each word with a trembling voice. Her entire body froze and she did not dare to move an inch. Yes, she was a girl who was slightly infatuated with girls, but that was only in the area of moving her mouth. When it came to real combat, she had the heart but not the guts to do it. Elvis hugged Gu Meng Meng, not willing to let go. He enjoyed the endless warmth that she gave him, and the blissful feeling that spread throughout his body made him sink in and infatuated with her. Where are your clothes? Gu Meng Meng swallowed her saliva. Damn, every single hair on her body was reminding her that she was being hugged by a naked male. Any careless touch would cause goosebumps all over her body to fall off. I threw it on the way. Elvis would never say that his beast skin dress was torn off by a tree branch because he was in a hurry to see her. He was too stingy to turn back to pick it up for 2 seconds, so he transformed into his beast form and ran back. Gu Meng Meng swallowed her saliva and silently cursed Leader for being so rich. The fist-sized luminous pearl was crushed just like that, and the top-quality fur was thrown away just like that. Rich. What about that? Sandy is watching. Gu Meng Meng really wanted to push Elvis, but any random movement of hers now would very likely cause her to touch something that she should not touch. So Gu Meng Meng could only stiffen her body and breathe carefully, afraid that it would cause unnecessary misunderstandings. Elvis's lips curled up and a strange feeling spread in his heart. She minded other females seeing his body. Help me wear it. Elvis stretched his hand out to Leah, and Leah took down the beast skin dress hanging near the entrance of the cave and threw it to him. Elvis caught the beast skin dress steadily and hooked it with one finger to hang it in front of Gu Meng Meng, looking like he was going to be naked if she did not help him wear it. Gu Meng Meng was free and hurriedly took a small step back to widen the distance between them. But this step back, she could see it even more clearly. Gu Meng Meng, whose face was as red as a pig's liver, snatched the beast skin dress from Elvis's fingers and wrapped it around Elvis's waist messily. She tied a dead knot in a flurry and only heaved a sigh of relief after ensuring that it would not fall off. He awkwardly changed the topic. Boss, what did you hunt back? Rabbit. Elvis picked up a bunch of rabbits tied together with grass that he had casually thrown aside and passed it to Gu Meng Meng. Yeah, after squatting down, he realized that Gu Meng Meng's beast skin dress was worn really well. Although it was so tightly wrapped around his flesh that a slight movement could break the dress, the suffocating feeling was still pretty good. Look, there's a red mark on her waist. How beautiful it is. How artistic. Oh, the feeling of pain was just right to make every cell in his body excited so deliciously. Elvis's smile grew wider. He decided that unless Gu Meng Meng personally took off this dress, he would continue wearing it like this. Gu Meng Meng's face was still burning hot. She had no time to pay attention to Elvis's strange expression and Lee's deep gaze. She just took the rabbits and frowned her delicate crescent brows, asking, Boss, did you catch all the rabbits in this nest to extinction? Yeah. Elvis replied with a single word cheerfully. He did not know what extinction meant. Gu Meng Meng lifted the bunch of rabbits in her hands and asked, even the nests? Not a single one was left behind, right? Yeah. Elvis continued nodding his head cheerfully. Gu Meng Meng's lips twitched. She sat cross-legged on the ground and started to untie the little rabbits. She said as she untied them, you should at least leave a descendant for others, or else we won't have any rabbits to eat in the future. Aside from the topic, my babies, today is the last day of the PK. Collect your comments and click them tomorrow when the results are out. I will inform my babies immediately through the author's words. Today's prize-winning question and answer, Gina is planning to do something. Please listen to the question, are you a fan of Air Meng or a fan of Lai Meng? Or, are you a fan of Air Meng? Leave a comment and tell us your faction. Let's see how many people are on the same side as you. Chapter 93. Alright. Elvis did not care about the reason, as long as she said it, he was willing to do it. Gu Meng Meng untied the 4 little rabbits and looked around. She handed the rabbits to Sandy and ran to a nearby place to pull the tree vines. The tree vines did not look too thick, but it took some effort to pull them out. Gu Meng Meng pulled until the skin on her palms broke, but she did not manage to pull off 2 to 3. She could only hold on to the tree vines and turn back to look at Elvis pitifully. "Leader, please protect me." "All right." Elvis's eyes were filled with indulgence and love. He walked forward slowly and pulled lightly, causing the tree vines to fall onto the ground. "Is it enough?" Elvis looked at Gu Meng Meng, who was squatting on the ground to pick up the tree vines, and asked. "Enough, enough." Satisfied, Gu Meng Meng picked out a huge bunch of tree vines before skipping back to Sandy's side. She sat down cross-legged and tied the tree vines one by one, before starting to weave a simple little cage. She asked while weaving, "Leader, you only hunted rabbits? Nothing else?" Elvis's eyes lit up with smiles. He thought that the messenger of the beast deity could only eat rabbits. He had been worrying on the way back, wondering if he could catch enough rabbits to feed her for the entire winter. Hearing her question now, did it mean that the messenger of the beast deity could eat other things other than rabbits? This would greatly increase her chances of survival. To Elvis, there was no better news. Just cows, sheep, pigs, and so on. Gu Meng Meng said while weaving the cage. Elvis thought for a while. If there was anything similar between rabbits, cows, sheep, and pigs, it should be that they were all animals with 4 legs on the ground. Following this pattern, Elvis tried asking, "Cows, sheep, and pigs are rarely seen. Tigers, leopards, and wolves, are they okay?" Gu Meng Meng was so shocked that she looked up at Elvis in shock. Was it really okay to have such a heavy taste? "You still eat wolves." Gu Meng Meng could not accept the truth. Elvis was a wolf himself, how could he still eat wolves? Wouldn't it feel like he was eating his own kind? Just thinking about it made her feel burdened. Elvis, however, was unconcerned. He just shrugged and said, "Becoming food is the fate of the weak." Ha! Gu Meng Meng was speechless. The weak were prey to the strong, survival of the fittest. There seemed to be nothing wrong with this barbaric era. Hence, Gu Meng Meng could only shrug her shoulders and did not reply. She quickened her pace, and in no time, she had finished weaving the small cage. Sandy was already looking at Gu Meng Meng with starry eyes full of admiration. She felt that Gu Meng Meng was practically glowing. Gu Meng Meng opened the small door of the cage and placed the little rabbits inside one by one. She then used tree vines to make a lock and finally placed the cage in a shady spot at the entrance of the cave. She turned around and said to Sandy, "Let's keep these 4 little ones as pets and play with them." Sandy tilted her head and blinked. "Why don't you raise males as pets? She can make us happy and take care of us." The corners of Gu Meng Meng's mouth twitched. In his heart, he cursed, "Sandy, can you not use such an innocent expression and tone to say such hardcore words? What do you mean by raising males as pets? F*******. Why does it feel like a landlord raising a mistress? How could a good socialist youth do such a thing?" Thinking about this, Gu Meng Meng's eyes darted towards Elvis and Leah. Damn it, these 2 fellows were just like the cool version of Teacher Cat in Natsum's Friends account, and the black version of Sesomaru in Inuyasha. With this kind of physique, how could they be pets? Are you kidding me? Aside from the topic, the Kill Temple of Sesomaru in Inuyasha does not have a black version. If you want to see it, please Photoshop it yourself. Another thing, Inuyasha is an anime with a more aged feel. Many children should not have seen it before. But for the details of the Kill Temple, you can refer to the cover of this article. That furry and handsome male is our Kill Temple. Chapter 94. Leah noticed Gu Meng Meng sizing him up and inched his face closer to Gu Meng Meng with evil intentions. He said ambiguously with an intimate posture, "You want me to be your beast pet?" No, how can I?" Gu Meng Meng felt embarrassed as if she was caught red-handed. She waved her two little hands and hurriedly denied. Why not? Leah, on the other hand, seemed to be a little disappointed. He pulled Gu Mengmeng into his arms. Leah used his index finger to gently lift Gu Mingming's chin, his moist lips stopping at the tip of Gu Mingming's nose. His fragrance was so sweet that Gu Mingming's nose sank into it. Gu Mengmeng shuddered and stared at Leah, who was so close to her, dumbfounded. She did not dare to say anything. Leah then felt a little better. Although he did not say it, he was jealous of Gu Mingming's reaction when Elvis hugged her just now. This light taste was just to make up for it. Leah smiled in satisfaction. The tip of his tongue was still savoring the taste that belonged to her on his taste buds. It was slightly sweet and tasty. As a beast pet, how about a snow fox? Pure white, magnificent, able to pray for blessings and cure illnesses. Leah suddenly smiled meaningfully, then moved his lips to Gu Mingming's ear and bit on her exquisite earlobe. Then, he huffed and said, the kind that can also warm the bed. Gu Mingming's eyes lit up. Pfft, blood flowed uncontrollably from Gu Mingming's nostrils. F*******. Daddy Leah broke the rules. Gu Mengmeng, you're bleeding. Sandy appeared to be even more nervous than Elvis and Leah. Her roar snapped the two of them back to their senses. Why was she bleeding from her nose? Did she hurt her head? When Leah was beating someone up last night, did someone get past Leah and hurt Gu Mengmeng? It shouldn't be. The two males fell into a state of confusion. Gu Mengmeng raised her head and pinched her nose. She waved her hands at Leah and Elvis, who were lost in their thoughts. It's nothing, it's too dry. I'm just not used to it. Leah and Elvis looked at each other but did not know how to reply. They had never encountered such a situation before. At that moment, even Leah did not know what to do. Sandy, can you accompany me to the stream to wash my face? Gu Mengmeng stretched out her hands like a blind person touching an elephant, feeling her way toward Sandy. Elvis was one step ahead. He held onto Gu Mingming's outstretched wrist and pulled her into his arms. He said worriedly, I'll go with you. Oh. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to say that she only had a small nosebleed from Daddy Lee's teasing and it was not some terminal illness that could kill her. Elvis really did not need to put on an expression as if her life was in danger. But, with him being so nervous, Gu Mengmeng felt strangely at ease. Yes, a child with a mother is a treasure. Elvis's speed was extremely fast. Even though he was carrying Gu Mengmeng in his arms, it did not affect his speed at all. It was as if Gu Mengmeng, who weighed 60 kilograms, was just a small cotton ball with no weight at all. Leah walked side by side with Elvis the moment he took his first step. The smile on his face was unknowingly replaced by worry. He did not say much and only said two words lightly, let's go together. Sandy was extremely anxious but there was no way her speed could catch up to Elvis and Leah. She could only huff and puff as she ran behind them. After they left Elvis's territory, Bode carried her all the way to the stream. Elvis and Leah ran frantically towards the stream one after another. In addition to Gu Mingming's rutting fragrance, they had long attracted the attention of the people in the tribe. In addition, Sandy, the worst friend, followed closely behind. She shouted as she chased after them, hurry hurry hurry, Gu Mengmeng has lost a lot of blood. I don't know if she will die. I'm so worried, run faster. Yeah, the news of Gu Mingming's death spread throughout the entire Saint Nazaire in an instant. Aside from the topic, this was the last chapter of the PK period. The PK would start later. So nervous. No matter what the outcome was, Jean Eyre and Gu Mengmeng were extremely grateful for the companions and hard work these 3 days. Thank you for your passion and love, it makes me feel very warm. Chapter 95. By the time Gu Meng Meng and the rest reached the stream, the nosebleed had already stopped. But since they were already here, she might as well wash her face. Gu Meng Meng had just rolled up her sleeves to wash her face when she heard a commotion behind her. Gu Meng Meng, who was squatting by the stream, was instantly petrified. What kind of scene was this? Males with bruised noses and swollen faces were rushing over hurriedly, as if they wanted to see someone for the last time. Gu Meng Meng tilted her head and froze on the spot. Before she could ask what was going on, Sandy, who was at the front, had already hugged her. She said tearfully, "Gu Meng Meng, don't hide it from me. What happened to you? Hurry and tell me." I just had excessive internal heat." Gu Meng Meng answered honestly, "Look, I washed my face twice and I'm fine now." Sandy did not believe her. She held Gu Meng Meng's little face and tried to look into her nostrils. After looking, she felt that it was not detailed enough, so she moved her nose closer and sniffed carefully for a while. After confirming that there was no more bleeding, she then heaved a sigh of relief and said pitifully, "You can't hide it from me if you're sick." "It's fine, don't worry, I'm fine." Gu Meng Meng hugged Sandy's shoulders and comforted her. Who would bleed from their nose for no reason? "Don't try to lie to me, sob sob, you're my only good friend, if you die." I sob sob. It was better if she did not comfort Sandy, but after Gu Meng Meng consoled her, Sandy felt even more upset. Her tears flowed freely, causing Gu Meng Meng to sigh. This Sandy, she was good at everything except that she loved to cry too much. She was a soft girl from head to toe. "All right, Sandy, if you continue crying, I'll drown in your tears." Gu Meng Meng helped Sandy wipe her tears while coaxing her, "Don't cry, look at that stream. There are fish, I'll roast some for you, all right?" Fish. Hearing that there was food, Sandy stopped crying with difficulty. Her eyes, which had yet to fade from tears, were as clear as the night sky that had been washed by water, clean and transparent. "Look, that's it." Gu Meng Meng pointed at the big fat fish swimming leisurely in the stream, as if it was not afraid of humans at all. "Water shuttles taste horrible. They taste fishy and have thorns." Sandy looked at the small fish with a look of disgust and curled his lips. Shaking her head, she pulled Gu Meng Meng's arm and said coquettishly, "Gu Meng Meng, let's just roast the rabbits. Look at how many rabbits Elvis caught just now, other than the ones you reared, there's still enough for us to eat." Sandy saw that Gu Meng Meng was unmoved and was still staring at the water shuttle with sparkling eyes. She made up her mind and stomped her feet. "At most, I will eat less and let you eat your fill first, all right?" On the other hand, Gu Meng Meng grabbed Sandy's little hand and pulled her in front of her. She used her chin to point at Elvis and Leah, then pointed at Bode and the other males who had followed her all the way here. She then asked, "Everyone is watching, only the two of us are eating. Aren't you ashamed?" Sandy looked around, then nodded her head confidently. "Of course I am, why should I be ashamed?" Gu Meng Meng smiled helplessly. "The rabbits were caught by Elvis, we still need Lee's help to prepare them later on. In the end, I'll be eating while others watch, I'll be sitting while others stand, what would happen then?" No, I can't do it. If we want to eat, we'll eat together or we won't eat. What era are we living in, why is there still sexism? Aside, extra great news, this article has passed 1p. The great editor has informed me to write well and prepare for 2p. During the PK period, thank you little cuties for your support and crazy calls. Thank you little babies, Black Sleeves Fragrance, and Yuji Yuyen for their flowers during the PK period. Also thank you QQ Bookstore, C Nien's Night, for his 388 reading BB. Chapter 96. Of course, Sandy did not know what gender discrimination was, because the beast world had always been like that. It was only right for females to have priority in all resources. But it was also right for females in the beast world to be willful, especially for the first beauty of the tribe like Gu Meng Meng. She could do whatever she wanted. Not to mention a mere water shuttle. Even if Gu Meng Meng picked up a rock from the ground and said it was a delicacy, there would be males who would stand out to chew it into pieces and praise it as delicious. Anyway, the males would be the ones to eat the worst food, so Sandy did not insist and just treated it as playing with Gu Meng Meng. She nodded her head and said, "All right, whatever you say. But we have to agree, after you roast the water shuttle, we will roast the fish to eat." "All right." Gu Meng Meng nodded her head, then looked at Bode and Sandy's other males who were following behind Sandy. They wanted to get closer but seemed to be afraid of Elvis and Leah. She rubbed her chin and smiled sneakily, "But we can't let Elvis prepare everyone's food by himself, right? Can we ask those from your family to come over and help?" Sandy turned around to look at Bode. Just as she was about to nod her head, she hesitated and peeked at Elvis and Leah from the corner of her eyes. She whispered into Gu Meng Meng's ear, "It's not a big deal to help, but Elvis has to agree first." Gu Meng Meng looked back at Elvis in confusion and shrugged her shoulders in confusion, asking, "What do you mean?" Sandy wrinkled her nose at Gu Meng Meng, pretending to be disgusted. Then, she inched closer and said in an even softer voice, "Elvis is the leader of the tribe and has the priority to hunt. Wherever he is, as long as someone snatches his prey within the range of his scent, it will be considered a provocation and he will teach that person a harsh lesson. Bode and the rest are not Elvis's match." Gu Meng Meng opened her mouth and nodded her head as if she understood. Then, she turned around to look at Elvis and said, "Leader, can we ask Sandy's males to come over and help us prepare some food?" Elvis rubbed Gu Meng Meng's little head lovingly. After confirming that her nose was no longer bleeding, he felt relieved and his mood turned for the better. He scooped Gu Meng Meng into his arms and hugged her with one arm. His eyes were filled with so much indulgence that it could melt into water. His voice was low and thick, like the playing of a cello. "Here, you have the final say." Gu Meng Meng chuckled and gave Elvis a thumbs up. "Leader, you're so reliable." Elvis seemed to be used to hearing Gu Meng Meng talk about irrelevant things and did not think about what she meant by atmosphere. Looking at her expression, it was definitely not something bad, so he accepted it gladly. Gu Meng Meng jumped down from Elvis's arms and held her head high, looking like a little villain intoxicated by success. She cleared her throat and said, "Those who want to eat together later, prepare your own ingredients." Elvis nodded. Gu Meng Meng's words caused a huge commotion among the males. "Gu Meng Meng, can we eat with you?" Amidst the cheers, all of them were asking the same question. Gu Meng Meng nodded and said, "Of course you can, the more people there are, the more delicious the food will be." Oh, after a round of cheers, the single males scattered off to hunt. This was a chance for them to display their skills in front of Gu Meng Meng. She must have wanted to test everyone to see whose hunting skills were stronger, so she asked everyone to stay for a meal. After all, winter was coming soon and hunting skills were naturally the most important factor in choosing a partner. Chapter 97. At that moment, Gu Meng Meng still did not know what kind of weird ingredients she would face later on. Looking at everyone's energetic looks, he grinned and thought to himself, "Looks like everyone is hungry. You guys." Gu Meng Meng waved at Bode and the rest, "Can you go into the water and help me catch 2 fish?" Bode did not reply and just looked at Sandy, as if waiting for her to say something. Sandy nodded without hesitation and said, "Of course, Bode is a very good swimmer." Bode was pleased by Sandy's praise and his gaze was filled with a "I really don't know what to do with you" smile and love. He nodded and said, "Sit by the shore and wait for me. Don't go near the stream, understand?" Sandy pouted. She was obviously not too happy. Gu Meng Meng would ask her for help, but Bode and the rest still treated her like a piece of trash and only asked her to wait by the side. Good girl. Bode cupped Sandy's chubby little face with both hands and waited for her promise with anticipation in his eyes. I know, hurry and go. Although Sandy was unwilling, she did not have the heart to resist. Used to, what a scary word. After getting Sandy's promise, Bode nodded his head in satisfaction. He gently kissed Sandy's forehead and said gently, wait for me. Then, he untied the beast skin skirt tied around his waist and transformed into a leopard. With a leap, a yellow shadow leaped into the water. Perhaps it was because the people in the beast world did not like to eat fish, so these fat and strong fish did not have any sense of danger. Even if a ferocious beast like Bode jumped into the water, they did not care. They swam and ate whatever they wanted, as if they did not care about Bode at all. Bode raised his claws and slapped the water, splashing water up to a meter high. Before the water droplets fell back into the stream, 2 fishes as thick as Gu Mengmeng's thighs landed in front of Gu Meng Meng. Handsome. Gu Meng Meng instinctively praised him. She looked at the 2 fishes and her mind spun rapidly. Pickled cabbage fish, boiled fish, squirrel fish, braised fish and fish meat hot pot. What the f***ck? Gu Meng Meng swallowed her saliva and cursed that beast deity in her heart. What kind of lousy place was this? There wasn't even a seasoning. Sob sob sob. Every time it was time to eat, Gu Meng Meng would miss the borders of the modern world. Now that he thought about it, instant noodles were simply the best in the world. While Gu Meng Meng was lamenting the lack of spices, Leah and Elvis had already stepped into the stream. However, neither of them transformed and maintained their human forms. Elvis could not bear to remove the beast skin dress that Gu Meng Meng had helped him wear, while Leah did not want Gu Meng Meng to see him drenched. After all, a drenched fox was not a peerless beauty. Admittedly, Bode was Sandy's partner and would definitely not pose any substantial threat to Renbao and Leah. But, if he was defeated by another male in front of his own female, how could he still have the face to live? Furthermore, why should others prepare the food that their female wanted to eat? Once these 2 brothers reached a tacit understanding, what could they not accomplish? Hence, not long after, the fish in front of Gu Meng Meng had piled up into a small hill. Gu Meng Meng snapped back to reality and hurriedly waved her hands. Sigh, enough enough. If you can't finish them, don't catch them. Chapter 98. Most importantly, Elvis was standing beside the alluring Leah. Even if Leah had clearly explained to Gu Meng Meng that he and Elvis were not in that kind of relationship, the image was still too strong. Gu Meng Meng felt a warm sensation spreading in her nostrils, as if she was going to have a nosebleed again. Leader, Daddy Leah, come up, hurry up. Gu Meng Meng panicked. She did not want to experience the entire tribe looking at her as if she was attending a funeral. Elvis frowned and rushed to Gu Meng Meng's side. As his body was wet, he did not dare to carry her. He just held her shoulders and asked with a serious face, "What's wrong? Are you feeling unwell?" Gu Meng Meng waved her hands and laughed awkwardly. Could she say that she was about to have a nosebleed from the cuteness of Elvis and Lee's rotten image? Really? Elvis did not seem to believe her. Leah followed Elvis onto the shore. He stood behind Elvis and watched for a while. Finally, he stretched out his slender and bony hand to touch Gu Meng Meng's forehead. After confirming that her body temperature was normal, he pressed his palm on Gu Meng Meng's chest. His heart, which had just relaxed because she did not have a fever, suddenly became anxious again. This heartbeat, why was it so fast? And it seemed to be getting faster. Leah frowned and was about to say something when a crisp slap landed on Lee's face, followed by Gu Meng Meng's earth-shattering and deafening high-pitched scream. Leah frowned. Leah frowned. Leah was bewildered by the slap and Elvis was even more dumbfounded by Gu Meng Meng's scream. Even Sandy, who had been watching from the side, was dumbfounded and did not know what had happened. The one who reacted the fastest was Bode. He jumped out of the water and stood in front of Sandy. He looked around warily, thinking that there was an enemy invasion. Gu Meng Meng shouted until the last bit of air in her chest was sucked dry. She then stopped with a red face. She crossed her arms in front of her chest and hugged her shoulders. She glared fiercely at Leah, as if she was about to cry. She was like a young wife who was being teased by someone glaring at a hooligan. Leah pointed at his own nose in confusion and asked, "Did I do something wrong? What the hell?" Gu Meng Meng looked at everyone else who had a blank look on their faces. She really wanted to cry but had no tears. If this was the modern world, Lee's actions would definitely be considered sexual harassment. But in this era, what kind of era was this? She had hugged Colin, and Sandy had wanted her to take Colin as her partner. She had been attacked in the chest, and no one had spoken up for her. Clenching her teeth, Gu Meng Meng answered fiercely, "No." How the hell was he supposed to explain that a girl's body couldn't be touched casually? Telling orcs like them, who didn't even know what their daddy was useless. Gu Meng Meng felt extremely aggrieved, but she could not say it out loud. She could only press her face into a steamed bun, pouting as she walked towards the pile of fish. She stopped in her tracks and turned back to look at Sandy. "Sandy, come and help." "Oh, okay, I'm coming." Sandy still felt that she could not keep up with Gu Mengmeng's pace. She did not know why she was suddenly happy or angry. But there was one thing she knew. Gu Mengmeng always had her own reasons. She would not be wrong to trust her. Sandy answered as she walked towards Gu Mengmeng. But before she could take 2 steps, she was stopped by Leah. Chapter 99. You have a secret in your heart. Leah stared at Gu Mengmeng, whose face was getting redder as he got closer to her. The curve of his lips brought a hint of warmth. If one did not look closely, it would look no different from usual, but the gentleness he exuded could not be deceived. "No, no." Gu Mengmeng denied flatly. Leah did not insist, he just held Gu Mengmeng's little hand and pressed it against the left side of his chest, where his heart was. He gently hugged her waist and pulled her closer to him, so that Gu Mengmeng was pressed against his chest. "I let you touch it back, so don't be angry, alright?" Gu Mengmeng wanted to retract her little hand as if she had been electrocuted, but Leah did not give her any chance. He placed his palm on the back of her hand, pressing it tightly against his chest. He tilted his head slightly and said with a gentle gaze, "I have a secret in my heart. If I cut it out for you to see, you won't be angry at me anymore, alright?" "Huh?" Gu Mengmeng fluttered her thick eyelashes, looking at Leah in confusion. "Promise me." Leah smiled, extending his sharp claws in front of Gu Mengmeng, cutting into the flesh inch by inch along the edge of Gu Mengmeng's little hand. "What are you doing?" That bright poppy-like blood rolled down Lee's fingertips. Gu Mengmeng was stunned for a moment, then struggled to break free from Lee's little hand, holding onto Lee's wrist that had turned into a sharp claw, preventing him from hurting her anymore. She could only feel anger in her heart, glaring at him and saying, "Self-harm is the most stupid thing to do. But it's the most effective." Leah retracted his fingernails, then pulled his arm inwards. Gu Mengmeng, who was holding onto his wrist, flew into Lee's arms. Leah hugged Gu Mengmeng tightly in his arms, using a strength that made him want to knead her into his body to imprison her, as if that was the only way to prove that she really existed. "Your heart aches, right?" Leah asked, the faint smile in his eyes carrying a tinge of joy and a tinge of palpitation. The injury just now was just a small cut on the flesh. A wound of this degree would heal automatically before night falls, but such a small wound could cause such a huge reaction from her. Although self-harm was stupid, but it was worth it. "Yes, my heart aches." Gu Mengmeng pursed her lips and pressed harshly on Li's wound. Half of her fingertips sank into his flesh and the warmth of the blood from her fingertip made Gu Mingming's heart ache. Aren't you just bullying me for feeling sorry for you? Let me tell you, those who make me sad will not have a good ending. Leah arched his back and tiny beads of sweat covered his forehead. His eyes, however, were staring at Gu Mengmeng lovingly without blinking, not moving away from her face for even a moment. Seeing that Leah was in so much pain, Gu Mengmeng hurriedly retracted her little hand that was pretending to be fierce, but her wrist was held tightly by Leah, unwilling to let her escape just like that. You haven't seen that secret yet. Leah held Gu Mingming's hand and placed it into his wound, as if the person bleeding was not him. He smiled seductively and said, "Cut open my heart, I'll let you see who it belongs to." Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with tears. No, no. I don't want that. Gu Mengmeng pulled back her hand with all her might. How could she be Li's match in terms of strength? Seeing that her fingertips were about to touch Li's wound again, Gu Mingming's big eyes were filled with pleading as she said in a sobbing tone, "I beg you, don't do this." Aside from the topic, it's time to promote the correct values again. Little cuties, self-harm is really an extremely stupid act, you must never learn it. Chapter 100. Can't bear to. Leah did not care about his wound at all, as if it was not worth mentioning. With a faint smile on his face, he inched his flawlessly handsome face closer to Gu Mengmeng and asked in a faint voice, "Then forgive me, don't be angry, all right?" Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with tears. Seeing that Leah was no longer pulling her, Gu Mengmeng pouted her lips and said pitifully, "You have to promise me that you won't harm yourself in the future." "As you wish." Leah loosened his grip on Gu Mingming's wrist and turned to hug her slender waist. With a light lift, he hugged her into his arms and rubbed her little face intimately before continuing to ask, "Tell me, what did I do wrong just now? I don't want to see you angry anymore, this place hurts." Gu Mengmeng looked at the bleeding wound that Leah was pointing at and groaned sullenly. The sullen feeling of being molested had long been scattered into dust by Li's stirring. Now that she heard his heartache, Gu Mengmeng actually felt a sense of sweetness and warmth in her heart. **CK, could this be the legendary Stockholm Syndrome? You're still distracted after being hugged by me. Who are you thinking about? Leah squinted his long and narrow eyes. Ambiguity and jealousy merged perfectly on his fairy-like face, colliding into an extreme temptation. No, I'm not thinking about anyone. Gu Mengmeng did not know why, even though Elvis's original body was much fiercer than Li's, she seemed to be more afraid of Leah. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng doubtfully and raised his eyebrows, signaling Gu Mengmeng to answer his question just now. Gu Mengmeng looked elsewhere guiltily. Her little face was burning and even her throat was so tight that she could only squeeze out a very soft voice from her throat and say, "You can't touch a girl's body so casually." Leah smiled wickedly and hooked Gu Mingming's chin with his index finger. He brought her face closer to his and stared at her as if he was looking at a piece of delicious food. He licked his lips suggestively and asked in a slightly arrogant tone, "Then what should I do when I want to hug you?" Gu Mingming's eyes were filled with disdain. "Hugging doesn't count," Gu Mengmeng replied, blushing. Leo looked at Gu Mengmeng with a mischievous smile, as if he had discovered something. Gu Mengmeng was stunned by his smile and her face turned even redder. She said angrily, "I'm not asking for a hug." Oh. Li's smile became wider. He liked Gu Mingming's shy and bashful look, it was so cute. "Oh, what do you mean? I'm really not asking for a hug." Gu Mengmeng really could not explain herself. She pushed Leah and wanted to leave his arms, but this sly fox actually pressed the wound on his chest against her. As long as she used a little more strength, he would definitely bleed. Gu Mengmeng gritted her teeth and thought to herself, are you sure you can't bear to hurt me? You're ruthless, you've guessed correctly. I really can't bring myself to do it. Leah did not answer Gu Mengmeng's question, he just used his index finger to hold her chin and asked, other than your heart, is there any other place that will make you angry if I touch it? Tell me, okay. Once Leah asked this question, Elvis, who was standing at the side, could not help but perk up his ears. Gu Mengmeng said angrily, you can't touch any place that is covered by clothes. Leah pondered for a moment, then said with a serious face, next time, I'll help you take off your clothes first. Gu Mengmeng was so angry that she screamed in her heart, hey. Hurry and tell me you're not serious. Chapter 101. While Gu Mengmeng was cursing in her heart, there was already a commotion on the other side. A group of males galloped over on horseback. Gu Mengmeng felt her scalp go numb as she looked at the weird prey the males were carrying in their hands. What the heck, they were all protected animals like tigers, lions, and bears. There were also some that she could not even name, no, she had never even seen them before, but they were obviously precious animals. But these males just threw these animals away like they were cabbages, piling them together with the fishes that Leah, Elvis and Bode had caught. Gu Mengmeng was speechless as she asked the heavens, isn't the beast deity going to do something about this? Leah followed Gu Mengmeng's gaze and the corners of his lips curved upwards, forming a beautiful arc. These males were really willing to put in a lot of effort. It was almost winter and these plump preys that had long been hidden were probably preys that they had been observing for a long time but did not make a move on, waiting for the winter to end before hunting them. To please Gu Mengmeng, they even took out their food reserves to protect themselves during winter. They were really blinded by lust. Like it? Leah saw that Gu Mengmeng was staring straight at them and said helplessly, Elvis and I also have some food reserves. If you like it, I can hunt it for you. Still hunt? Gu Mengmeng looked at Leah in shock. Meeting his mesmerizing eyes, she could not help but soften her tone. She smiled apologetically and said, let's settle these first, it will be a waste if we can't finish them. Although she said that, Gu Mengmeng had already decided to only eat fish. Damn tigers and whatnot, she could not bring herself to eat them. Alright, I'll listen to you. Leah carried Gu Mengmeng and had no intention of letting her down. Just like that night when he saved her from Quentin's hands and brought her back to the tribe. She placed her hands behind her back and shook her head as she looked at the group of well-built, good-looking males. She felt as if she was filming Descendants of the Sun too. Yeah, she was acting as the demon female instructor. Although Song Joong-ki was not around, there was Elvis and Leah. Moreover, there was a group of males who could be teased by her. Kaka, how could a single word describe the feeling of love? Gu Mengmeng, the tiger I hunted is the tiger king in this area. It's one of the best among the wild beasts. It has a strong body and usually eats the healthiest animals. There was a male whose name Gu Mengmeng could not remember at all because of Elvis and Lee's comparison. Gu Mengmeng gave him a thumbs up. A hero who fights tigers. Not bad, not bad. You have the power of Wusong. The male who hunted the tiger muttered in his heart, Wusong. A new adjective. Is it the same as the word tough guy used to describe Barrett? It should be about the same, but who cared what he meant? It was Gu Mengmeng who praised him just now. Chapter 102. Gu Mengmeng looked at the one who hunted the tiger just now, whose face was red from holding back and looked like he was about to attack. She quickly came out to calm things down and said, Brave one, you even dare to hunt a snow fox, aren't you afraid of Leah beating you up? The one who hunted the snow fox looked at Gu Mengmeng blankly, then looked at Leah and asked seriously, Why did Leah beat me up? Leah did not answer the fox hunter. Instead, he held on to Gu Mingming's waist and knocked on her little head lightly. Seeing how she was holding her head in pain with a face full of grievance, he could not help but laugh but did not want to let her off so easily. So, he used the most gentle smile and a slightly cold tone to ask, "Are you comparing me with a wild fox?" Gu Mengmeng shrunk her neck and waved her hands, saying, "No, no, Daddy Leah, you are strong and mighty, ruling over the world. How can a mere wild fox be compared to you?" Oh. Leah obviously enjoyed Gu Mingming's flattery, even though he knew that she was not being sincere, so what if she was making it up? He loved to hear whatever she said. "Really, really." Gu Mengmeng nodded her head seriously and emphasized her tone. "Be good." Lee's lips landed on Gu Mingming's little earlobe and he bit it not too hard or too light. Then, he let go of her in satisfaction, allowing her to continue inspecting everyone's prey like a supervisor. Gu Mengmeng blushed. No matter how many times she did it, she could not get used to Daddy Lee's ambiguous actions. Everyone was watching. Cough cough. Gu Mengmeng cleared her throat and said, "Everyone's prey is very good. I won't look at them one by one due to time constraints. In order to let everyone eat more delicious food, I need a small team to accompany me to carry out a very important mission. Who is willing to go with me?" "I." Gu Mengmeng was almost stunned by the undulating sound of the same voice. Don't, there's no need for so many people. Around 3 to 5 people would be enough. Everyone has to work together, otherwise it would be too inefficient." Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, the crowd is too passionate, it also makes people feel pressured. Elvis went forward and carried Gu Mengmeng in his arms, glancing at the boiling male beast with a cold face. The pressure he unintentionally emitted successfully controlled the scene. "Leah and I will accompany you." "That's enough." Elvis's calm voice was filled with absolute confidence. Coincidentally, Gu Mengmeng did not want Elvis and Leah to follow her, because if they did, she could forget about doing anything. So Gu Mengmeng said with a fawning expression, "That won't do, you and Daddy Leah are the only 2 people in the tribe who know how to start a fire other than me. We need quite a lot of firewood to feed so many people. If I bring the 2 of you away, who would know how to start a fire? Who would dare to light a fire?" No, you 2 have to stay here and light the fire." Hearing Gu Mingming's words, Elvis and Leah felt an indescribable sense of pride. She said they were irreplaceable. Gu Mengmeng thought to herself, flattery will never work. The ancients did not deceive me. Thus, Gu Mengmeng struck while the iron was hot and whispered into Elvis's ear, "Moreover, look at how they go berserk at the slightest provocation. If not for you and Daddy Leah here to control the situation, I reckon they would have destroyed the entire tribe by the time I return." Elvis actually did not hear clearly what Gu Mengmeng said. Because when her warm breath landed on his ear, a numb feeling spread from his ear to his entire body. His heart was so manic that it was deafening. That thumping heartbeat almost broke his eardrums. Aside from the topic. Chapter 103. "Leader, just let me go, alright?" Gu Mengmeng tugged at Elvis's arm and swung it left and right, acting coquettishly without any integrity. "Oh." Elvis nodded his head blankly and responded, "Yeah. Leader, you're the best," as Gu Mengmeng said. She kissed Elvis's face and was about to run. But before she could take 3 steps, Leah grabbed her arm and pulled her into Lee's arms. "What about me?" Leo leaned his beautiful face forward and Gu Mingming's face heated up. Her heart raced and she felt uneasy. Glancing left and right, she lied to herself and found an empty spot where no one was looking to give Leah a peck on his face. Then, she turned around and ran away as if she was running for her life. She shouted while running, "Cole, Bode and the one who hunted the snow fox just now, the 3 of you, follow me." Cole naturally did not say anything. It was as if he was waiting for Gu Mingming's call at any time. When he heard Gu Mengmeng calling his name, he dashed behind Gu Mengmeng without hesitation and was the closest to her. Bode was a little unwilling, but seeing Sandy giving him a strong push, obviously telling him to listen to Gu Mingming's arrangements, he could only bear with the awkwardness and follow. The slowest one to react was actually Oakley, who hunted the snow fox. Happiness came too suddenly and he was a little unprepared. "Oakley, hurry up." Colin automatically assumed the role of the deputy leader of the special operations team. After all, he was the closest to Gu Mengmeng here, as he had helped her wash the rabbits before. Oh. I'm coming. Oakley did not dare to delay any longer, as he was afraid that others would snatch his chance to get close to the little female. So, he hurriedly chased after her. Luckily, Gu Mingming's speed, it was too easy to catch up. So, Oakley was seriously considering if he should pretend that he could not catch up to her. But would Gu Mengmeng think that he was too useless? Just as he was hesitating, Bode said impatiently, "Let Colin carry you, it's faster that way." Gu Mengmeng pouted and said, "I have my own legs." Bode glanced sideways at Gu Mingming's two slender legs and sneered, "Ha, I can tell." Just as Gu Mengmeng was about to flare up, she saw Bode running over 10 meters away in a flash. He raised his head from afar and said, "Hey, little female with long legs, why don't you start running?" "You." Gu Mengmeng stomped her feet and said, "So what if you run fast? I'll go back and tell Sandy that you bullied me." "You." Bode's face darkened and he lost his temper. The most important reason why he deliberately provoked Sandy was because ever since Sandy got to know this little female, he had focused all his attention on her. If not for the fact that Gu Mengmeng was really in heat, he would have treated Gu Mengmeng as a weaker male love rival. It was indeed embarrassing to compete with a female, but what could he do? He was also in despair. His little female could not see anyone else other than Gu Mengmeng. All the males in the family were in danger of losing their favor. What about me? Gu Mengmeng would not lose to Bode in terms of aura. If she could not win the first round, Bode would not take her seriously. In that case, if Bode bullied Sandy in the future, how could she stand up for Sandy? Although the possibility was not high, she would rather kill the wrong person than let him off. Aside from the topic, I'll reply to the messages left by the little babies in QQ Book City. I saw some babies saying that Leah has too many scenes. Since the male lead is destined to be Elvis, should Lee's scenes be cut down appropriately? Regarding this question, my answer is, Elvis is definitely the male lead. Sir Wolfman is talking about Elvis. But Leah is also a very important character. At the current stage, he is someone that Gu Mengmeng likes more than Elvis. Although Wenwen is in the third person, the main point of view is based on Gu Mengmeng. She now cares about Leah, so Lee's scenes are destined to be the most important. Chapter 104. Gu Mengmeng snorted at Bode with her nostrils, then continued speaking with her head held high. "If not for Sandy, do you think I would be willing to bring you out?" Gu Mengmeng would never admit that she had brought Bode out mainly because she could remember the names in the tribe. Moreover, other than Elvis, Leah, Colin and Bode were the only ones present. Although Bode was aggrieved, he had no other choice. If Gu Mengmeng was a male, he could still fight until one side was convinced. But Gu Mengmeng was a female, and he was not Quentin. He could not do anything to a female. Moreover, if Gu Mengmeng was hurt by him, not to mention how Elvis and Leah would deal with him, even Sandy would not let him off. Thinking of how Sandy worshipped Gu Mengmeng, Bode shook his head gloomily and took a step back. He shifted his face to the side and said in an impatient tone, "Why did you bring the three of us out? Hurry up and tell me, I still need to accompany Sandy after I am done with you." Gu Mingming's lips curved upwards and she gave a cheeky smile. "Sandy has me, does she still need you to accompany her?" Very good, this stab hit the bull's eye. Bode could not retort after being ridiculed and could only take a deep breath, feeling even more aggrieved. Gu Meng Meng saw Bode admitting defeat and felt a little smug. Bickering with me? Ha, I can talk you to death. Turning around, Gu Meng Meng looked at Colin and the man standing at the side. She touched her chin and asked, I heard Colin call you Oakley just now. Yes, I am Oakley, from the Lynx tribe. Oakley's lips curled into a faint smile. If one looked closely, he looked like Leah. But he did not look like a deity, nor did he look like a demon. Compared to Leah, he could only be considered as average handsomeness. Gu Meng Meng nodded and repeated while thinking, Lynx tribe, no wonder you could hunt such a precious female snow fox. Oakley's eyes curved into crescents as his heart surged, do you know? Gu Meng Meng praised me. Gu Meng Meng did not care much about Oakley's thoughts, she tilted her head and asked Colin, I still don't know what race you are from. Colin gave a silly smile and replied, like Sandy, I'm a bear. Oh, no wonder you know about bees. Gu Meng Meng thought for a while, then looked at Bode who was drawing circles at the side and cursing someone. Hey, Sandy said you know about bees. Oh, no. Where is the nest of the yellow needle insects, right? You called the three of us out to get the yellow sauce. Bode looked as if he was facing a formidable enemy. He quickly shook his head and said, No, Sandy has specially instructed me not to bring you to the nest of the yellow needle insects. If you need yellow sauce, you can ask Elvis or Leah to help you find it. They are the strongest warriors in Saint Nazaire, they can definitely help you get a lot. TSK. I'm just asking you if you know. Why are you spouting so much nonsense? Gu Meng Meng widened her eyes and stepped on a huge rock with one leg, looking like a female bandit blocking the road to rob. Of course, if her small physique could be more burly, or Bode could be more skinny, maybe the scene would not look so funny. Bode really wanted to deny it and say he did not know. But if he said that, it would be equivalent to saying that Sandy was lying. Sandy cared so much about Gu Meng Meng. If Gu Meng Meng distanced herself from her because she thought that Sandy was a female who liked to lie, Sandy would definitely be very upset. Clenching his teeth, Bode still nodded his head and said, I know. Aside from the topic, thank you to Book Friend 15*88 from QQ Reading for providing the names. But in this beast world, other than the female lead, the names are all European. The names you provided are too deep in China, so it's not suitable for this novel. But thank you for your valuable suggestions also. Thank you to bookfriend 1727496011 for your message. I will take care of my health, thank you for your concern. Chapter 105. Gu Meng Meng fluttered her long and thick eyelashes and stared at Bode for a while, realizing that he had no intention to continue speaking. She frowned and slapped Colin's stomach. Her soft little hand made a crisp sound as it collided with Colin's strong abdominal muscles. Gu Meng Meng originally wanted to intimidate Colin to tell her the location of the beehive in an imposing manner, but in the end, she underestimated the sturdiness of Colin's abdominal muscles. From her fingers to her forearm, she used all her strength to slap Colin. Ouch! Gu Meng Meng wailed, feeling that her hand was crippled. Gu Meng Meng, how's your hand? Does it hurt a lot? I'm sorry, it's all my fault. Colin's heart ached terribly as he held Gu Meng Meng's little hand carefully, but did not know what to do. Why don't we let Oakley send you back to Saint Nazaire first and let Leah check if your hand is fine? Leave the yellow sauce to me and Bode. We'll definitely bring it back for you, okay? When Gu Meng Meng heard that he wanted her to turn back, how could she agree? So he shook his numb hand and said, No need. I'm fine. But Colin was still worried. He wished his eyes could turn into X-rays and see every cell on Gu Meng Meng's hand clearly through the skin. No buts, listen to me. Gu Meng Meng placed her hands on her hips. So what if she lost her imposing manner? Even if he dropped the ball, he still had to change his style. Gu. Colin still wanted to say something, but Gu Meng Meng placed a finger on his lips. That pretty little face was right in front of him. Colin swallowed his saliva instinctively, but did not say another word. After settling Colin, Gu Meng Meng then turned around to continue threatening Bode, if you're smart, just tell me where the nest of the yellow needle insects is. Otherwise, he. Bode looked disdainfully at Gu Meng Meng, who was as weak as a cub. The forced cunning smile on her sweet face did not seem threatening at all, but instead made people feel that she was mischievous and cute. Although she could not be compared to their Sandy, she was barely worthy of the title of the first beauty of Saint Nazaire. But this little fellow wanted to scare him. He's still a little too tender. What else can I do? Is he going to complain to Sandy again? You can go. Sandy won't blame me for this. Sandy would be mad at me if I took you to the nest of the yellow needles. Bode crossed his arms in front of his chest and leaned against the tree trunk at the side, clearly not taking Gu Meng Meng's warning seriously. Gu Meng Meng saw that using force was not going to work, so she changed her strategy. She shook her head helplessly and sighed, all right, since you are so insistent, I will not make things difficult for you. It's just that Sandy was looking forward to my yellow gravy barbecue. Everything was prepared except for the yellow gravy barbecue. Sigh, that little foodie, how disappointed would she be if she couldn't eat the yellow gravy barbecue? Thinking about the tears in her innocent eyes, it was really heartbreaking to the listener to hear it and cry. But don't worry, Bode, even if you can't fulfill Sandy's little wish, I won't ridicule you in front of her. The males in the tribe won't laugh at you either. Sandy won't think that you don't love her and refuse to do such a small thing for her. You. Bode finally understood that this was a blatant threat. So this was what he meant. It's all right, don't worry. Gu Meng Meng interrupted Bode's words and continued on her own, no matter how disappointed and sad Sandy is, she will at most ignore you for 10 days to half a month. At most, there will be other males who will take the opportunity to win her heart and become her most important partner. Isn't it just a drop in status in the family and being laughed at by others for being the most useless first partner who can't stand up straight? These are all small matters, right? Gu Meng Meng interrupted Bode's words and said to herself, no matter how disappointed Sandy is, she will at most ignore you for 10 days to half a month. Aside from the topic, replying to Book Friend 30**67, I was really touched after reading your comments, thank you for liking it also. Why did you only reply to the comments on QQ Bookstore and not on Xiaoxiang's website? Because I had directly replied to all the comments on Xiaoxiang's website. Backstage Bookstore did not have a backstage, so I could only reply like this. Chapter 106. You. Bode was so angry that he wanted to bite someone. But Gu Meng Meng was a female. Why? Why was this annoying Gu Meng Meng not a male? And you guys. Gu Meng Meng turned around to look at Colin and Oakley. No one is allowed to tell anyone that Bode is unwilling to help Sandy find the yellow sauce. Sandy had always been bullied by Nina in the past, causing her to have such a submissive personality that she would cry over even the smallest matter. If this matter was made known to the entire tribe, who knew what kind of criticism Sandy would receive? By then, that damned Nina would definitely say that Sandy is a half-orc, something along the lines of, it must be because Sandy is a half-orc, that's why Bode is unwilling to help her with such a small matter. That Nina would definitely say that. I don't want Sandy to listen to such harsh and sarcastic remarks, so all of you better keep your mouths shut, no one is allowed to leak a single word. Colin and Oakley looked at each other and thought to themselves, although it sounds like he's defending Sandy, why do I feel that something's not quite right about it? I'll bring you there. Bode could not hold it in any longer. It did not matter how much he was mocked and mocked, even if Sandy found a new partner in the future, he would already be mentally prepared. But if Sandy was to be bullied by Nina because of this matter, he would definitely not tolerate it. Really? Gu Mengmeng turned her head to look at Bode suspiciously, her face full of doubt. Really? Bode could not explain why, but he always felt that he was always on the losing end whenever he met Gu Mengmeng. Although they would fight with Nina's partners from time to time when Nina bullied Sandy, and were often beaten up badly by Quentin, but he could at least fight for Sandy then. Damn, why was it that whenever he met Gu Mengmeng, she would just blabber on and he would be unable to defend himself? Grievance, so damn grievance. Bode firmly believed that he must ask Sandy to stay away from Gu Mengmeng when they return. Or else she would be led astray by Gu Mengmeng sooner or later. But this was all in the future. The most important thing now was to bring Gu Mengmeng to find the yellow sauce, but also to ensure that she would not be killed by the yellow needle insects. Or else, he would not be able to answer to Sandy. Thinking about this, Bode cleared his throat and said, I can bring you there, but you have to stand far away with Oakley. Once something goes wrong, let Oakley bring you and run first. Gu Mengmeng looked at Oakley, suddenly feeling that her mounts after she came to the beast world. In the past, who would have thought that she could ride a black wolf and a snow fox? Or maybe she could even ride a lynx. Mengmeng Gu Mengmeng Gu. Gu Mengmeng answered without hesitation, causing Bode to suspect that she had no intention of abiding by the agreement. Gu Ding Hao, then Dali boomed. When the four of them finally reached the beehive, Gu Mengmeng pushed Bode away and walked forward while shaking her head. She walked to the bottom of the beehive and raised her head to take a look. Not bad, pure wild honey. The beehive was big and sturdy, and she could faintly see the golden honey inside. The worker bees in and out busy. Dong. Goo goo was goo dong. Chapter 107. Gu Mengmeng shrugged her shoulders at Bode indifferently and said softly, as long as you don't panic, the yellow needle insects won't attack suddenly. Calm down a little. The veins on Bode's forehead bulged and he shouted for the 100th time in his heart, why isn't Gu Mengmeng a male? Gu Mengmeng was not willing to waste any more time, so she returned before Bode exploded. Dusting off the dust on her hands, Gu Mengmeng started to assign tasks. Colin, you have more strength, help me find some dried leaves and damp branches. All right. Colin naturally had no objections to Gu Mengmeng's arrangement. He nodded and went to the side to collect the things that Gu Mengmeng wanted. Oakley, when Colin is done preparing the things, can you help me start the fire? Gu Mengmeng was not that familiar with Oakley, so she was naturally more polite to him. But Gu Mengmeng's politeness made Oakley feel a lot disappointed. It must be because he did not work hard enough on the night when Gu Mengmeng became an adult and did not perform as well as Colin. That was why Gu Mengmeng was so distant towards him. Oakley decided to perform better in the following days, so he nodded his head firmly and promised that he could complete the mission. Gu Mengmeng turned around to look at Bode and drew circles in front of Bode with her fair and slender fingers. She dragged her voice and said, Bode was still impatient as he totally did not understand what this female wanted. She said she wanted to find the yellow sauce for a while and then made a fuss when he did not bring her along. Now that she was here, she said she wanted to start the fire. Forget it, your mission is already completed and there's nothing else for you to do. Gu Mengmeng's face was filled with disdain and she simply turned her head away and ignored Bode. Colin was extremely fast. Anyway, he was gathering the materials from the ground, so it was not difficult to find the dried leaves and damp branches. So while Gu Mengmeng and Bode were not happy with each other, he had already carried a huge bunch of dried leaves and 10 over damp branches back. Gu Mengmeng, do you think these are enough? As Colin spoke, he took out 2 tree branches that were stored separately from his armpits. There are 2 dry ones here. I saw Elvis and Leah using dry tree branches when they lit the fire, so I brought 2 along. Do you want to use them? Yes, yes, yes. Gu Meng Meng nodded her head like she was pounding garlic. Colin, I didn't see it coming. You look simple and honest, but you're actually a careful person. Colin scratched his head in embarrassment. He sat cross-legged on the ground and prepared to drill the wood to start a fire. However, he had only drilled it twice when he pinched the dry branch into 2 pieces. Gu Meng Meng chuckled and took the branch from Colin's hand. Leave this to Oakley. You have other important things to do later. Colin was also embarrassed. He had never thought that drilling wood to make a fire was a delicate job. But seeing that Gu Meng Meng was not disappointed in him because of this, Colin felt much more at ease. He simply handed the branch to Oakley and watched from the side with Gu Meng Meng. Although Oakley was not as smart as Leah, he quickly grasped the knack. A thin wisp of smoke rose up and Gu Meng Meng hurriedly piled the dried leaves inside. Then, she pointed at the leaves that looked like an elephant's ear. Colin, pull 2 leaves and fan them. Colin reached out his hand and pulled 2 leaves off. Then, he started fanning them one by one. Gu Meng Meng's face darkened. She turned her head and asked, "Why are you fanning me? Who asked you to fan the fire?" Aside from the topic, yesterday, I plucked up my courage to look for the editor and said that everyone thinks that NPC is good. Can I write NPC? The great editor told me seriously, we are cracking down. Chapter 108. With everyone's help, Gu Meng Meng's plan to start the fire was successfully carried out. Gu Meng Meng saw that the fire was still burning brightly and wanted to praise Colin and Oakley, but she saw that the 2 fellows were already clenching their molars so tightly that their facial nerves looked a little hideous. Sigh, being afraid of fire was an animal's nature. Gu Meng Meng shrugged her shoulders to express her helplessness. She could not count on the help of these 2 fellows who were afraid of fire, so Gu Meng Meng could only add the damp branches to the fire pile herself. Not long after, thick smoke rose in spirals, as if thick ink had dripped into a clear water tank, brewing enchanting and beautiful ink marks. The place where Gu Meng Meng started the fire was naturally the air vent, so the wind blew from her back, blowing the thick smoke towards the beehive. At first, a few worker bees came out to check on the situation, then swarms of bees rushed out of the beehive like a torrent of water, flying in the opposite direction of the smoke as if they were escaping for their lives, completely not noticing the culprit Gu Meng Meng standing not far away. When most of the bees had flown out, and the remaining few had fainted from the thick smoke, Gu Meng Meng then used the damp grass and leaves to extinguish the fire pile. The smoke looked scary, but the fire was actually not that big. After dealing with the aftermath, Gu Meng Meng patted her hands that were black from the soot, raised her chin and looked at the 3 males who were dumbfounded. She happily accepted the worship and shock in their eyes with a complacent expression. "All right, do you know what to do next?" Gu Meng Meng's big, lively eyes were embedded on her dirty little face. She gave Colin and the other 2 a "do it" look, but the 3 of them still maintained their dazed gazes and looked at her, as if they did not understand what had happened from the start. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed, sigh, brains are a good thing, but they actually did not have it. If she was not afraid of Leah and Elvis stopping her, she really should have brought the 2 of them along. Helplessly, she could only use these 3 people now, and that Bode was still someone she could not rely on. Gu Meng Meng sighed and could only pull herself together. She patted Colin's shoulder and said, "Colin, hug me." "Ha!" Colin blinked his big eyes, before nodding his head with a smile. He stretched out his arms and lowered his head shyly, not daring to look at Gu Meng Meng in the eye. He was like a little girl who was reluctant but welcoming at the same time. Gu Meng Meng frowned and said with a look of disdain, "You're almost 2 meters tall, why are you acting shy? It doesn't match your character at all." "Aw." Colin did not know how to reply to Gu Meng Meng's sarcasm. He just lowered his head feeling wronged, thinking to himself, I'm really too stupid, I made Gu Meng Meng angry again, don't blush. Gu Meng Meng was going crazy. She really could not stand a muscular man who was almost as strong as Schwarzenegger behaving like a little wife in front of her. Who was the one who risked his life to rush the tower last night and was covered in blood? Beast deity, hurry up and take this effeminate fake goods away. Oh. Colin nodded vigorously, but he didn't know how to keep his face from turning red, and the more anxious he was, the redder his face seemed to become. What to do? How hopeless. Gu Meng Meng face-bombed and gave up on Colin's character. She turned to Oakley and said, Oakley, hug me for a while. All right. Oakley nodded and walked to Gu Meng Meng to hug her lightly. Then, he let go of her obediently and stood back at his original spot. Gu Meng Meng could clearly see a flock of crows flying past her head in a flock. She just wanted someone to carry her to harvest the beehive. Why did it seem like she was asking for hugs everywhere? Can't we just have fun? Aside from the topic, thank you to the QQ Reading Baby, Bubble Milk Tea, for tipping 100 Reading B. She also replied to the little baby, She's question regarding how Leah would react. I've already answered it in the reader group. It's not convenient to say more in the comments. Believe me, I have my own difficulties. Chapter 109. Gu Mingming's face darkened. Forget it, I won't count on you guys, I'll climb up the tree myself. Gu Meng Meng shook her head and gave up the idea of communicating with these males helplessly. She walked towards the hive by herself. How would Colin and Oakley dare to let her walk over alone? So they kept their lingering thoughts and hurriedly followed her. Colin stood in front of Gu Meng Meng, ready to use himself as a meat shield to protect her. Oakley followed closely behind Gu Meng Meng, ready to bring Gu Meng Meng away if the yellow needle insects attacked. Although Bode found Gu Meng Meng extremely annoying, she was a precious female after all. Moreover, she was someone that Sandy valued so much. So if there was any danger, he must protect Gu Meng Meng even if he had to sacrifice himself. This was the responsibility of a male. Gu Meng Meng sighed deeply. The damn bees had already flown away long ago, but these guys were still advancing like the Japanese entering a village with a minesweeper posture. By the time they reached the place, the damn bees would have flown back. Move away if you guys are afraid, don't delay me from collecting the yellow sauce, alright? Gu Meng Meng pushed Colin, who was blocking in front of her. Colin had some understanding of the yellow needle insects, he knew how powerful they were. Seeing Gu Mingming's fearless look, he became more worried, so he licked his lips and said, why don't you just stand here and wait, I'll go over and help you get it, alright? Gu Meng Meng did not insist and nodded, alright, just break off half of that hive for me, just half is enough, don't take the whole thing. 1/2. Colin's eyes widened. In the past, when they risked their lives to snatch it, the best result was a palm-sized piece. That time, there were 2 males who could never return to St. Nazaire. 2/3 at most, no more. If you take it all, they won't come back to build their nest next year. That won't do, understand? Gu Meng Meng did not know about Colin's worries, she thought that half was too little. Colin clenched his teeth, thinking that even if he was killed by the yellow needle insects, he would never disappoint Gu Meng Meng. So he nodded with the determination to die, alright, I'll definitely get it back for you. Wait for me here. Gu Meng Meng did not understand where Colin's tragic and stirring emotions came from. She only saw him instructing Oakley and Bode to bring Gu Meng Meng away immediately if anything happened. Then, he turned into a bear resolutely and sprinted towards the beehive. Have you ever seen a kuroshio that is as tall as a building running on all fours? Why did it feel like the wind was howling and the water was cold, as if it would never return? Gu Meng Meng wanted to stand behind Colin and sing One Cut Plum. Colin didn't waste any time. He went up and directly dug out more than half of the beehive with his palm. Then, he turned around and ran. As he ran, he shouted, "Success! Retreat!" Then either Oakley or Bode grabbed Gu Mingming's collar and dragged her along as they ran. Gu Mingming looked at the scenery flying past her rapidly and her heart crumbled. The King bees didn't even chase after us, so why are you guys running? Unfortunately, the three males didn't even give her a chance to speak. They sprinted all the way back to Saint Nazaire. When Gu Mengmeng could finally land on both her feet, she felt as if she had sat on a roller coaster 8 times. Her head was spinning and she just wanted to vomit. However, just as Gu Mengmeng was about to find a tree root to support herself and vomit, a deafening cheer rang out behind her. Before she could react to what had happened, she was lifted by all 4 limbs and thrown high up into the sky by a group of males. F***CK, Rollercoaster 2. Upgraded version 0, digression, announcement. This article's 2P will be held from the 25th to the 28th, same rules. In these 3 days, don't pay attention to the articles, don't pay attention to the articles. You must follow the articles daily and then actively leave comments. Those who have flowers will donate flowers and those who have votes will vote. During the PK period, there will be 3 chapters every day. The diligent Jeaner is working hard to write the draft, then, it will be the same as during 1P. There will be a small question placed under the article every day. The first one to answer correctly will be rewarded with 66xxb. The second one will be rewarded with 56xxb. The third one will be rewarded with 36xxb. The rest of the people who answer correctly will be rewarded with 18xxb. The first one to leave a comment every day will be rewarded with 10xxb. Those who discuss the plot will be rewarded according to the quality of their comments. Our Gu Mingming's future will depend on the results of 2P. Also, reader group number 4927799273. Chapter 110. Gu Mengmeng could not stand the torment and screamed in fear, "Leader, save me." Before she could finish her sentence, she had already fallen into an embrace. Her pale face was pressed onto Elvis's chest and she tilted her head to listen. His strong heartbeat calmed Gu Mingming's flustered emotions, but it could not suppress her urge to vomit. Unfortunately, there was not much food in her stomach. Gu Mengmeng did not vomit anything after retching twice and collapsed weakly in Elvis's arms. Damn it, she really did not expect that after avoiding the Happy Valley and Disney, she ended up on an exciting roller coaster ride in the ancient wilderness, and it was the kind that did not even have a seatbelt. Gu Mengmeng felt as if she had a serious illness and did not even have the energy to scold anyone. Elvis looked at Gu Mengmeng and felt a little heartache and helpless. He gently cupped her little face and said, "No one has ever brought back so much yellow gravy, but you only brought Colin, Oakley and Bode and you did it. Looks like I have to give up the title of the #1 warrior of Saint Nazaire to you." Gu Mengmeng sighed in resignation and said, "They suddenly went crazy and threw me up because of this." Elvis's gaze swept across the group of males who were still unable to calm down from their excitement and nodded, "Yes, you are the pride of Saint Nazaire." Gu Mengmeng felt really helpless. Why did these people always go crazy because of some random things? It was just some honey, why did they have to go crazy? Was it an illusion? Why did she feel that the way those males looked at her was not right? It felt like, they wanted to eat her up. Xiao Meng. Elvis patted Gu Mingming's back lightly and said, "I am so happy to be your partner, you are my biggest pride." Partner. Gu Mengmeng really wanted to kill herself. She had just told Leah clearly that she did not have the intention to become partners, but she had forgotten that Elvis still misunderstood. "Sigh, I treated you as my leader but you wanted to sleep with me." Mengmeng. Gu Mengmeng wanted to explain but was interrupted by Leah. He whispered into Gu Mingming's ear at a volume that only the two of them could hear, "Everyone in the tribe is watching. If you have anything to say, say it after we return. Gu Mengmeng glanced at the male beasts who were still in a state of rage, pursed her lips and nodded. Elvis treated her so well, she could not let Elvis be so embarrassed and be rejected in front of everyone in the tribe. He even had to hear her say that he was just thinking too much. Let's eat first. I'm starving. Gu Mengmeng smiled brightly and put aside Elvis's matter for now. They could talk about it when they got home at night. However, now that Elvis was obviously not going to be her godmother, then, could she still stay in Elvis's cave? Although Elvis did not know what Gu Mengmeng and Leah were talking about, he could not help but feel uneasy. However, seeing Gu Mengmeng's smiling face, he could not bear to ask and did not dare to ask. He could only follow her wishes and nod at his head. Gu Mengmeng turned around to look for Sandy in the crowd. From afar, she saw a small isolated area beside the crowded stream. There were 2 or 3 figures there. She could not see them clearly as they were too far away, but she could vaguely feel that they could be Sandy. Hence, Gu Mengmeng shouted Sandy's name while rushing towards that direction. With Elvis and Leah guarding the area, Gu Mengmeng passed through the crowd effortlessly. But when she reached the front, she saw that there were 3 females in that small empty space and Sandy was one of them. She was standing at the side wiping her tears, feeling wronged. Aside from the topic, Ayaya, it's going to be 2 p.m. tomorrow. Let me remind my babies again to clock in on time after 12 noon tomorrow to catch up on the novel. Chapter 111. Nina. It's you again. Are you itching for a beating? Gu Mengmeng pulled Sandy behind her and frowned. She rolled up her sleeves and was about to pounce on Nina. Nina had suffered at Gu Mengmeng's hands before, so why would she go against her? Moreover, Gu Mengmeng was not Sandy. Her males were Elvis and Leah. Even if all the males in her family attacked together, they would not be a match for those 2 Buddhas. So Nina's body softened and she pretended to be innocent. I didn't do anything. Didn't you ask everyone in the tribe to come to the stream for a meal? Can't I come? If you want to eat, just eat. Why did you bully Sandy? Gu Mengmeng did not believe that Sandy would just stand there and cry pitifully if Nina did not bully her. She has you backing her up, how would I dare to bully her? If you don't believe me, ask her, what did I do to her? Nina put on a hypocritical look and pointed at Sandy with her chubby chin. She wanted Gu Mengmeng to ask her. Gu Mengmeng then turned around and held Sandy's little hands gently. She asked gently, Sandy, don't be afraid. I'm here. If she bullied you, just tell me. I'll beat her up for you. She didn't bully me. But she said bad things about you. I was so angry that I argued with her. She then asked her males to beat a dolly until he was seriously injured. Sob sob. Sandy looked at Gu Mengmeng. She was like an aggrieved wife who had found her pillar of support. The more she spoke, the more aggrieved she became. Her tears could not stop flowing. Although Gu Mengmeng did not know who a dolly was, he must be one of her partners to stand up for Sandy. Gu Mengmeng did not even have the energy to retort. She had already beaten up your husband until he was seriously injured. How dare you say she did not bully you? How much more did you want to bully her? But Sandy was already covered in tears. Gu Mengmeng could not bear to say anything more to her. She hugged her gently and patted her back to comfort her. All right, it's all right. I'll ask Daddy Leah to take a look at a dolly later. He will be fine. As for Nina, leave her to me. Don't cry. If her eyes are swollen like peaches, she won't be pretty anymore. Gu Mengmeng sent the sobbing Sandy into the arms of Bode, who was grinding his teeth and was about to charge forward to fight for his life. Gu Mengmeng gave him a look, telling him to comfort Sandy. Then, she turned to look at Leah. She did not say anything, but the word please was clearly written in her clear eyes. Leah originally wanted to stay behind to protect Gu Mengmeng, but seeing Gu Mengmeng's expression, he did not reject her. After all, having Elvis here was enough. I'll go take a look at a dolly, I'll leave this place to you. Leah instructed Elvis before turning around to leave. After everything was settled, Gu Mengmeng rotated her neck left and right as a warm-up. She smiled at Sandy with an evil intention and said, I warned you not to bully Sandy, or else I will beat you up every time I see you. Is your IQ really lacking, or do you not put me in your eyes at all? What are you doing? Nina had seen Gu Mengmeng's little fists before. Although they looked light, it was still very painful to hit. What am I doing? Of course I'm fulfilling my promise. If I don't beat you up today, others will think that I'm untrustworthy. As Gu Mengmeng said, she pounced towards Nina, looking like she wanted to tear her into spicy strips. She was like a wild cat that had gone mad, wild and dangerous. Even the males at the side who did not dare to intervene in a female dispute broke out in cold sweat, muttering to themselves, why didn't this Nina learn her lesson? Why did she have to offend her? She was the Gu Mengmeng who could snatch the yellow gravy from the yellow needleworm and come out unscathed. Aside from the topic, today was the day of PK. The 2 sessions in the morning would be updated as usual, and the 3rd session would be updated at 2 p.m. Starting tomorrow, Chapter 1, 8:30, Chapter 2, 9 o'clock, Chapter 3, 9:30. Those little babies who have not clicked on favorites, remember to do so and be more proactive in leaving comments. Chapter 112. You can't hit me. Nina pulled one of her partners over to block in front of her. Only then did she have the chance to finish her sentence, I'm pregnant and I'm definitely pregnant with a little female. If you hit me now, even if you're the most beautiful woman in the tribe, Elvis will not side with you. Gu Mengmeng's hand froze in mid-air and 10,000 beasts were galloping in her heart. She knew Nina was a pervert, but she didn't expect her to be this pervert. Do you think I'm a fool? You weren't even pregnant when I hit you 2 days ago, and now you're pregnant in the blink of an eye. Gu Mengmeng remembered that she had punched Nina's stomach on the platform of the deity's punishment. If she was pregnant, that punch would definitely be enough to cause a miscarriage. But she was perfectly fine that day, and now she was pregnant after a night's sleep. Do you think you're me, you? You can even get pregnant in a dream. I'm pregnant. Nina's face turned red and she was determined not to admit it. Gu Mengmeng laughed coldly and said sarcastically, other than sh*t, there should be nothing else in your stomach. If you don't believe me, I'll punch you and you'll know the truth. As Gu Mengmeng said, she walked around Nina's partners and grabbed Nina like an eagle catching a chick. Nina dodged left and right pathetically and cried out as she dodged, Gu Mengmeng, why are you so evil? You didn't even let the unborn female in my stomach off. Stop talking nonsense. Don't run if you have the guts. Gu Mengmeng feinted to the left and Nina ran to the right. Gu Mengmeng dodged and caught Nina in the act, run. Gu Mengmeng twisted Nina's wrists behind her back and held both of them with one hand while her other hand grabbed her hair from the back of her head. She pulled Nina's unbearable face in front of her and said word by word, if you don't have enough IQ, just stay here obediently. If you have the guts to bully Sandy, then you have to be able to bear the consequences. After Gu Mengmeng finished speaking, she pushed Nina with all her might and gave her a hard kick on her but as she fell forward. As expected, Nina fell onto the ground in an extremely pathetic manner. Just as Gu Mengmeng was about to pounce forward and hit him again, she was blocked by someone. Gu Mengmeng, if you have any dissatisfaction, you can ask Elvis or Leah to fight with me. Even if you kill me and all of Nina's partners, we have no complaints. But no matter what, Nina is still a precious female of Saint Nazir, please don't hurt her anymore. His voice was dry and hoarse, and his eyes were filled with reverence, but he did not shrink back. He only had one arm, but he did not seem to be in a sorry state at all. Instead, he had a kind of unyielding elegance. Gu Mengmeng looked up and indeed, she saw Quentin's familiar face. Towards Quentin, Gu Mengmeng still had some reservations. After all, she almost died in his hands 2 days ago. Gu Mengmeng was never a person who blindly flaunted her strength. She knew that she had no chance of winning against Quentin, so while retreating, she lifted her chin and asked, "Why? Are you going to play the same trick again? You didn't kill me last time, so you want to kill me again today? Let me tell you, my leader is here, you can't hurt me." Elvis took the opportunity to carry Gu Mengmeng up with one arm. He was clearly only half a head taller than Quentin, but the pressure of a natural king made him look much more muscular than Quentin. That was an absolute crushing pressure. As if looking at an ant with disdain, he looked at Quentin, who was standing in front of him, and said, "You're not worthy to fight with me. Call all the males in your family, fight. Aside from the topic, watch my Gu Mengmeng sealing technique. Those who are hit by this technique must immediately click to collect, or else there will be no meat to eat." Chapter 113. Elvis's word "battle" shocked the entire place into silence. Everyone seemed to be holding their breaths, afraid that if they breathed too loudly, they would be burned. "Elvis, you actually want to kill all the males for her?" Nina saw that Gu Mengmeng was being carried in Elvis's arms and could not jump down to hit her for a while. Furthermore, Quentin had also rushed back, so she became much more daring. She directly stood out from behind Quentin and reprimanded Elvis as though he was Chin Shimmy. "Back then, in order to prove my fertility to you, I got pregnant with a nest of eaglets the year I came of age. But in order to give birth to your first nest of wolf cubs, I forced Quentin to smash all the eggs in the nest. I don't blame you for always distancing yourself from me all these years. As long as you agree to mate with me now, I promise that when I go into estrus next spring, I will mate with you immediately and give birth to your first nest of wolf cubs. Give up on that, Gu Mengmeng. It's going to be winter soon. If she goes into estrus at this time, she will definitely not have a good ending. Even if she successfully gets pregnant after you mate, with that skinny body of hers, how can she survive the long winter? And how can she give birth to healthy cubs for you?" Elvis was expressionless. He grabbed Nina's neck with one hand and lifted her off the ground easily. He squinted his dangerous eyes and said in a voice so cold that it seemed like ice could form, "You don't have the right to comment on Xiao Meng." Quentin held on to Elvis's wrist. Even though he was on his last breath after going through 3 days of the deity's punishment ritual, coupled with the fact that the murderous aura and pressure from Elvis was too strong, making it extremely difficult for him to even breathe, but looking at Nina, who was on the verge of death, Quentin still forced himself to take a breath and said with difficulty, "She's a female." Elvis curled his lips in disdain. His pupils shifted slightly and he glanced at Quentin from the corner of his eyes, asking, "So what?" Quentin pursed his lips tightly. He knew, and it was precisely because he knew that he chose to bring Nina to Saint Nazaire back then. The rules of the beast world were completely useless to Elvis. No, to a mated male, nothing was more important than his own female. Even he could kill Gu Mengmeng because of Nina's words, what more Elvis? Quentin felt that his vision was starting to turn yellow, and everything he saw was blurry. This was a sign of fainting. If he did not think of a way, Nina would probably die before he fainted. Quentin used his last consciousness to form a sentence, "Gu Mengmeng will be scared." Although this sentence was short, it effectively dispersed Elvis's murderous aura. He lowered his head to look at Gu Mengmeng, who was nestled in his arms, and recalled how she had cried at the campfire party on the night she came of age. His heart ached and he flung Nina far away. He rubbed the hand that was strangling Nina's neck twice on his beast-skin dress before patting Gu Mingming's back gently and comforted her. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Seeing that Nina was saved, Quentin finally couldn't support his weak body anymore. His legs gave way, and he collapsed onto the ground. Even though he might never be able to open his eyes again, the corners of his lips were still curled upwards. As long as she was fine, everything was fine. Out of topic, question, what race is Sandy? The first one to answer correctly, XXB 66 second 156 third 136 every subsequent 118 XXB. Chapter 114. Gu Mengmeng was indeed frightened. Although she would tear Nina's crotch apart, she never had the intention to kill anyone. Although she relied on Elvis to be a little arrogant, she was just using her connections to intimidate Nina's partners, so that they would not dare to act rashly, so that she would not suffer a huge loss. Gu Mengmeng was still a coward when it came to a life-threatening situation. Looking at the few males blocking in front of Nina, looking like the generous 5 warriors of the Wolf Ivory Mountain, Gu Mengmeng could not bear to do it. Damn it, marrying an unlucky wife is a sure way to suffer for the rest of your life. Elvis, don't be like this. Gu Mengmeng wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck and rested her head on his neck softly, comforting him. Although Nina and I are not on good terms, I am never the one who suffers a loss. We are all from the same tribe, we see each other all the time, there's no need to fight to the death, all right? Elvis's temper was appeased by Gu Mingming's gentle words. By right, there was no need to fight to the death, he just had to stand there and release some beast pressure, and it would be enough to suppress Nina's partners to the point that they could not take care of themselves. But he was angered, and wanted to use the most primitive and barbaric method to tear them apart. Of course, it was because Nina had offended Gu Mengmeng, and Bode had broken the rules by interfering. But on a deeper level, he could not deny that Gu Mingming's hesitation and Li's ambiguous "we'll talk about it when we get back" made him feel uneasy and frustrated. Luckily, Gu Mengmeng was still in his arms, hugging him back gently, so that he could deceive himself and others into believing that he was overthinking. Elvis responded to Gu Mingming's gaze gently, nodding his head. "I will listen to you." Gu Mengmeng then felt at ease, smiling brightly. "I knew leader is the best." Elvis accepted Gu Mingming's praise gladly, then put her down, letting her run back to Sandy's side. From an angle that Gu Mengmeng could not see, Elvis glanced at Nina's partners. That glance was filled with cold killing intent and a strong sense of warning. He did not say a single word, but it made Nina's partners tremble in fear and prostrate themselves before him. They carried Nina, who was paralyzed on the ground, and ran far away. They hid at the edge of the crowd, not daring to let Nina near Gu Mengmeng. Quentin, on the other hand, was still unconscious on the ground, nobody cared about him. Gu Mengmeng held on to Sandy and wiped her little face, saying, "All right, don't cry. The next time Nina bullies you, hit her back. In any case, you're also from the bear race. Are you still afraid of her? But she's a perfect female, and I'm just a half-orc female, tisk. If you continue like this, I will be angry." Gu Mengmeng pulled a long face and said, "So what if I'm a complete female? So what if she was a half-beast female? Wasn't it just a pair of furry little ears? How beautiful. She wanted it, but she didn't have it yet. You don't even know how much I like your little ears. If they grew on my head, would be so beautiful." Sandy touched her ears. For the first time, she didn't feel inferior when she touched them. Instead, she felt a sense of warmth. "You really like them?" "Of course I like them. These are Sandy's little ears, my favorite part of Sandy." Sandy blushed and nodded her head in reply. "I also like Gu Mengmeng the most." The two females smiled until their eyes turned into crescents, while Elvis and Bode stared at each other with a heavy heart. They liked each other the most, then, what should they do? Aside from the topic, today's small question, Gu Mengmeng transmigrated to the beast world because she wanted to get close to a heartthrob senior. May I ask, which club senior is this heartthrob from? Reward policy, first place 68xxb, second place 58xxb, third place 38xxb. Other participation prizes 18xxb. Note, this activity is limited to the little darlings who left comments in Xiaoxiang Academy. Because on other platforms, Gina does not have a backer and cannot set up any rewards. Chapter 115. Gu Mengmeng and Sandy held hands as they walked towards the main fire, with Elvis and Bode following behind them. When they passed by Quentin, Gu Mengmeng paused and turned back to ask Elvis, didn't Nina's partners bring Quentin along with them? He will die if they leave him here. I'll ask someone to send him over. Elvis did not want Gu Mengmeng to care about other males, even if they were already mated. Luckily, Gu Mengmeng did not have a good impression of Quentin, but she still had a kind heart and would not turn a blind eye to him dying in front of her. But, Quentin came down from the platform of the deity's punishment, then what about Barit? Why don't I see him? Gu Mengmeng asked while looking around, but she really did not see Barit at all. Colin stood behind Gu Mengmeng, lowered his head and frowned, replying, Barit did not make it, he died on the platform of the deity's punishment last night. Now. F*******. Upon hearing that, Gu Mengmeng did not have time to think. She retracted her little hand that was holding on to Sandy and pushed her into Bode's arms, saying, you guys eat first, I'll go check on Barit. Gu Mengmeng did not have time to think. She directly jumped onto Elvis's back and shouted, leader, hurry hurry hurry, platform of the deity's punishment. Elvis frowned. He disliked Barit even more now. But even though he was unwilling, he still did not disobey Gu Mengmeng. He transformed into a wolf and brought Gu Mengmeng to the platform of the deity's punishment at lightning speed. Gu Mengmeng climbed up the platform of the deity's punishment with all four limbs, using her finger to check Barit's breathing. Although it was weak, he was not dead yet. Great, he can still be saved if he's not dead. Barit was punished because of Gu Mengmeng. If he died just like that, Gu Mengmeng would not be able to forgive herself no matter what. Raising her head, she saw that the males who were waiting by the stream for their meal had also followed her like a swarm of bees. Gu Mengmeng could not even be bothered about her helplessness. She spotted Colin in the crowd at one glance, so she ordered, Colin, help me get some water. All right. Colin didn't ask why. His and Barit's skills were closely related and they had been rivals and friends for so many years. If they were lucky, they might even become a family in the future because of Gu Mengmeng. Barit died on the platform of the deity's punishment just like that and he was very upset. If Gu Mengmeng really had a way to bring him back to life, not to mention fetching some water, even if she wanted him to slit his throat and let his blood out, he would do it. Originally, the platform of the deity's punishment was close to the stream. It only took Colin less than a minute to break the leaves and fetch water. Gu Mengmeng carried Barit's head and placed it on her thighs as a pillow. Then, she took the leaves from Colin's hands and slowly poured the water into Barit's mouth. But Barit had been unconscious for a long time and even swallowing was a problem. That little bit of water flowed out the way it was poured in. Gu Mengmeng clenched her teeth, picked up the leaf and poured a mouthful of water into her mouth. Then, she pinched open Barit's mouth and fed him the entire mouthful of water. Barit's Adam's apple rolled, and he finally swallowed his first mouthful of water in 3 days. His body was nourished and gradually showed signs of recovery. Gu Mengmeng persisted and brought the water to her mouth again, preparing to feed him another 2 mouthfuls. However, her wrist was held by Elvis. His eyes were as black as ink and his thin lips were pursed into a straight line. He shook his head. Although it was not a big movement, it was filled with undeniable determination. Aside from the topic, she believed that the little babies might have discovered a problem. The place where they were going to eat was by the stream and the platform of the deity's punishment was also by the stream. Why did Gu Meng Meng need Elvis to send her from the place where they were going to eat to the platform of the deity's punishment? There was only one truth. Chapter 116. Elvis pulled Gu Meng Meng back into his arms and looked down at Barit from above. He casually took a deer that had just stopped breathing and had yet to be cleaned from the hands of a male. He aimed the blood vessel of the deer at Barit's mouth and let the warm blood flow down Barit's throat, nourishing his body. Barit rolled his eyes and forced his dry eyes open. When he saw that figure in a hazy state, the corners of his lips could not help but curve upwards. Gu Meng Meng, yes, I'm here. Gu Meng Meng wanted to struggle out of Elvis's arms, but Elvis's arms did not budge at all like they were made of steel, not letting her struggle at all. Gu Meng Meng had no choice but to give up struggling. She stared at Barit helplessly and said, "Why are you so silly? I told you to kneel for 3 days and 3 nights, and you're really going to kneel. This stubborn fellow, if he loses his life, he'll lose everything. As long as you are safe, my life is nothing." With every word Barit said, his throat felt as if it was being cut by a knife. However, this kind of pain made him feel exceptionally blissful. He thanked the beast deity for taking pity on him and fulfilling his last wish. He would use the rest of his life to protect Gu Meng Meng. Only then would he have no regrets when he had to return to the arms of the beast deity. Fool! Gu Meng Meng's eyes were a little sore. He had actually done so much for someone he had only known for 2 to 3 days. Since you're not dead, go back and rest. Elvis did not like the way Gu Meng Meng was looking at Barit, and even more so, he did not like the way she was so concerned about him. Hence, he carried Gu Meng Meng and jumped down from the platform of the deity's punishment without any explanation, walking back in big strides. Seeing that Gu Meng Meng did not give up and was still stretching her neck to look back, he whispered into her ear, "The recovery ability of males is very strong. Since he's awake, he won't die. Sandy is waiting for you. If you don't go back, she'll cry again." "Oh, yes, yes, Sandy is still waiting for me." Gu Meng Meng retracted her gaze from the platform of the deity's punishment and turned to look forward. She rubbed her tummy and said, "Even I feel hungry, Sandy must be famished too. Hurry up, let's go back and eat." Elvis sighed silently. Was his decision wise? Why did it feel like there was a wolf at the front door and a tiger at the back door? Between Barit and Sandy, who should he guard against first? Even though he was thinking about it, Elvis did not slow down his pace. After all, Gu Meng Meng was also hungry. When they returned to the place where they were supposed to roast the meat, Gu Meng Meng really wanted to shake her head and leave. Do you know what it means to be covered in corpses and to have blood flow like a river? If he glanced to the left, he would see a tiger's paw. If he glanced to the right, he would see a wolf's head, f*ck me. Beast God, aren't you going to do something about your people being so cruel? What happened? Elvis's gaze circled around Gu Meng Meng, so he naturally did not miss out on her aggrieved expression. Gu Meng Meng sighed helplessly and wrapped her arms around Elvis's neck. The ground was filled with blood, she did not want to go down. Gu Meng Meng, you're back. Sandy welcomed her from afar and smiled sweetly at her. Gu Meng Meng looked at Bode who was standing behind Sandy and said bluntly, "The ground is so dirty and you're letting Sandy run around like that." Bode was infuriated by her scolding. He wanted to retort but did not dare to do so due to Elvis's pressure and Sandy's protection, aside from the topic. Chapter 117. Bode carried Sandy up according to Gu Meng Meng's instructions and stood behind Elvis from the side. Gu Meng Meng then nodded her head in satisfaction, then pointed to a relatively clean place by the stream and said, "Leader, let's go there." "All right." Any place with Gu Meng Meng was a good place. Elvis brought Gu Meng Meng to the stream and Bode carried Sandy over. Once the two females landed on the ground, they held hands and started to converse like best friends. Elvis and Bode could not interrupt at all and could only sigh silently, waiting for when these two fellows would remember them. Growl growl, Sandy's stomach growled and Gu Meng Meng then remembered that they had not eaten yet. She smiled and said, "Leader, help me start a fire here. Bode, bring over 2 fishes that Elvis and Leah caught just now." Bode clenched his teeth but did not dare to bare his teeth at Gu Meng Meng. Sullenly, he followed Gu Meng Meng's instructions. Elvis started a fire a few times and could be said to be very familiar with it now. Not long later, a small, warm fire was started. Gu Meng Meng took over the big fish that Bode brought over and used a thin stone she picked up from the river to scrape off the fish's scales. She borrowed Elvis's sharp claws to cut open the fish's stomach and took out all the internal organs before throwing them away. Then, she washed the fish in the stream and used the branches that Elvis had prepared earlier to skewer the fish using the cross-fixation method and roast it slowly over the fire. The aroma of the fish became stronger as time went by. Sandy, who had a look of disdain, could not help but swallow her saliva. She had already asked Gu Meng Meng 8 times, "Can we eat now?" Gu Meng Meng pretended to be mysterious and said, "Almost done, but we still lack a secret weapon." "What is it?" Sandy could not help but become nervous and lowered her voice. The way the two of them spoke was like an underground gang meeting. However, to males with exceptional hearing, they really did not need to do so because they could still hear clearly. Gu Meng Meng hooked her finger and asked Sandy to come closer. Sandy naturally did as she was told. Gu Meng Meng whispered into Sandy's ear, "Yellow gravy." Sandy had thought that Gu Meng Meng wanted the yellow gravy to roast the rabbits. Although Gu Meng Meng had brought back a lot of yellow gravy, no one managed to hunt any rabbits today and was still feeling regretful. Who would have thought that this water shuttle could also be roasted with yellow gravy? Too unexpected, too pleasantly surprised. "Bode, hurry, bring the yellow sauce that Gu Meng Meng brought back, bring all of it over." Finally, Bode was so touched that he was about to cry. After a whole day, he finally got an order. It was from Sandy. They had been ordered around by Gu Meng Meng for an entire day and now they could finally be ordered around by their own females. "You guys don't understand this kind of happiness." Bode had not walked far when Colin walked over with all the yellow gravy he had gotten today and all the yellow gravy that the males in the tribe had contributed to coax Gu Meng Meng. Gu Meng Meng chuckled. "I don't need so much. Share it with everyone. Everyone here will have a share. Let's all have a taste." "How can we do that? This precious yellow gravy is not even enough for the females, how are the males going to eat it?" Colin looked at the yellow gravy in his hands and felt his heart ache. Although he had used Gu Meng Meng's method and obtained it successfully this time, it was hard to guarantee that it would be the same next time. If it was given to the males, what would Gu Meng Meng eat? Aside from the topic, come, today's small question, what is the prototype of Daddy Leah? Reward policy, first place, 68xxb second place, 58xxb third place, 38xxb other participation prizes, 18xxb note. Chapter 118. The sexism in the beast world was really deeply rooted. Looking at the males standing behind Colin nodding their heads in agreement, Gu Meng Meng did not know whether to laugh or cry. Dusting off her hands and standing up, Gu Meng Meng nodded her head and said, "Although the yellow gravy is precious, it's not something rare. As long as you guys can help me find the nest of the yellow needle insects, I can guarantee an unlimited supply of yellow gravy from Saint Nazaire. Just one thing, it doesn't matter how much you eat, but you can't waste it. If it was in the past, Gu Mingming's words would only be treated as a willful little female spouting nonsense. They would only cooperate and express their admiration, then even if it meant risking their lives, they would still help her fulfill her promise. But now, the situation seemed to be reversed. This skinny and tiny female seemed to be emitting an irresistible power. Her words were convincing and there was no room for doubt. Even males could eat the yellow gravy. Such a precious thing, unlimited supply. Everyone looked at Gu Mengmeng, their hearts surging. They had to become stronger. How could they let a little female shoulder the heavy burden of making the entire Saint Nazaire prosperous? She was so weak, she should be protected and taken care of. Gu Mengmeng obviously did not know that her words seemed to have given the males of Saint Nazaire a stimulant, and it was the kind that was effective all year round. From this day onwards, the males of Saint Nazaire trained themselves even harder. Whether it was hunting or guarding the territory, they had an unprecedented drive. They wanted to be strong, strong enough to protect Gu Mengmeng. Of course, this was a story to be told later, let's not talk about it for now. Although Colin's heart ached for the yellow gravy, he would definitely follow Gu Mingming's instructions. However, the males carefully wrapped the yellow gravy in leaves and kept it, thinking that if there was a time when the female did not have enough to eat, they would take out their own for the female to eat. Gu Mengmeng did not force him. It was hard to remove such deep-rooted beliefs. Moreover, it was not a bad thing to take good care of a lady. Why must she correct him? Gu Mengmeng asked for a wolf tail that the male intended to throw away. After washing it clean with the stream water, she dipped it in honey and brushed it evenly on the surface of the roasted fish. Then, she slowly flipped the fish until the honey was roasted to a golden color and the air was filled with a charred sweet smell. Gu Mengmeng then took the roasted fish down from the rack and tasted a small piece. As expected, the roasted fish with honey was much more delicious than the roasted rabbit which had no taste at all. Gu Mengmeng was also not a stingy person. She split the fish into two, giving one half to Sandy and the other to Elvis. Sandy had been craving for it for a long time and as expected, she scalded her tongue with one bite. She stuck out her pink tongue pitifully and sucked in air, looking so adorable that Gu Mengmeng could not stop giggling. She took the roasted fish and passed it to Bode. She instructed him to blow on it and let Sandy eat it when it was warm. Then, she folded a leaf into a cone shape and scooped a leaf of water for Sandy to drink to ease her thirst. Now that Sandy had something to eat, she could not be bothered to talk to Gu Mengmeng anymore. She pounced into Bode's arms and stared at the roasted fish in Bode's hands. Gu Mengmeng could not be bothered to criticize Sandy for forgetting her friends. She returned to Elvis's side and sat down obediently, preparing to roast another fish for herself. But before her little hands could touch the second fish, Elvis handed over a small piece of fish meat from the side. I blew on it, it's warm. Aside from the topic, Gu Mengmeng, weak. Needs to be taken care of. Who are you talking about? The author, I'm talking about you. Gu Mengmeng grabbed the author's collar. I'm the one who knocked Nina down with one punch. You're saying I'm weak. The author shrugged helplessly. They eat tigers, cheetahs and any wild beasts that can eat you. In the food chain, they are at least 2 levels higher than you. You are not weak. Gu Mengmeng, F***K, what the F***K? Chapter 119. Gu Mengmeng felt a warmth in her heart. She opened her mouth with a smile and swallowed the fish that Elvis sent to her mouth. The temperature was just right and the fish bones had already been picked out. Leader was actually such a meticulous person. Elvis felt a warmth in his heart when he saw Gu Mengmeng eating contentedly. Luckily, she was willing to give him a chance to take care of her. Maybe he was just overthinking when he said we. Gu Meng Meng allowed Elvis to feed her while she swiftly processed the second fish. But before she could scrape off all the scales, Sandy could not wait any longer. A pair of chubby little hands were placed on Gu Meng Meng's shoulders. She stuck her head out and asked, Gu Meng Meng, are you done? I still want to eat more. This water shuttle is actually so delicious, it's not done yet. Wait a while, I will let you eat all of it after I'm done. Gu Meng Meng treated Sandy like a parent who spoiled her child without any principles. Can you teach Bode? Let him learn how to do it from you. Once he learns it, let him roast it for us. Although Sandy was greedy, her heart ached for Gu Meng Meng's little hands. They must be cold after soaking in the water for such a long time. And even though this water shuttle became extremely delicious after being roasted by Gu Meng Meng's little hands, it still smelled terrible when processed. Just think about how other females were treated like their ancestors when they were in heat. But Gu Meng Meng, the first beauty of Saint Nazaire, was actually squatting by the stream to roast fish, and for her to eat. Sandy felt more touched the more she thought about it. She pounced onto Gu Meng Meng and hugged her tightly. Her furry little ears twitched continuously. She said with a naive expression, Gu Meng Meng, if only you were a male. Then, I would definitely mate with you and never be separated from you for the rest of my life. Gu Meng Meng used her finger that was soaked in water to touch Sandy's little nose. She smiled and said, yeah, if I were a male, I would definitely marry you. Wife? Sandy tilted her head and looked at Gu Meng Meng. What's that? It means partner. We call our female partner wife over there. Gu Meng Meng replied while brushing honey on the fish. You guys are so funny. The female partner is called wife and the male partner is called father. Sandy blinked her big eyes and smiled innocently. Gu Meng Meng was speechless. She sneaked a glance at Elvis, who looked unhappy, and hurriedly explained, Daddy means father, not male partner. Why is Leah your father? Sandy was even more confused. Speechless, Gu Meng Meng choked and asked the heavens, Come, this fish is ready. You eat it. Gu Meng Meng stuffed the freshly roasted fish into Sandy's mouth without any explanation, hoping to use food to shut this little ancestor's mouth. No, Board said he'd seen you do it twice and learned. You eat this one first, I'll wait for Bode to roast it. Sandy said as she pushed the fish back to Gu Meng Meng. She then imitated Gu Meng Meng and said to Elvis, Take good care of Gu Meng Meng and blow on it to warm it before feeding it to her. Otherwise, it will be very painful if she gets scalded. Perhaps, this was the first time someone spoke to Elvis like this. But Elvis did not feel angry. Instead, for the first time, he felt that Sandy, this noisy and crybaby, was rather cute. On the other hand, Sandy, who only dared to be a little presumptuous because Gu Meng Meng was around, felt her legs turn to jelly after she finished speaking. She turned around and ran back to Board's side to wait for the fish. Wife means female partner. Then, is the male partner called leader? Elvis's voice was as light as the spring breeze, but in Gu Meng Meng's ears, it sounded like thunder on the ground. Damn! How could she explain? Aside from the topic, replying to QQ reading, enough 2 scarves, question yes, Gu Meng Meng's weight was 60 kilograms. The reference was the shameless author himself. I was 172 kilograms tall and 51 kilograms at my slimmest. My friends thought I was a drug addict when they saw me, so they dragged me along to preach the correct values of life. After that, I gained some weight and my weight was around 55 kilograms to 58 kilograms. Only then did I look more normal and my complexion became better. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.